Hello guys, this is part one of me decorating a 3-tier vintage wedding cake. So as you saw in the beginning, I'm using a 14-inch 10mm thick cake drum. I needed the board to be thick because this cake is about to be heavy and I could not be dealing with a bending board. So as you can tell, the bottom layer is chocolate sponge with chocolate buttercream. Here I've got my 6-inch cake board, which I poked a hole in the middle as that's where the central dowel is going to go. And then I'm placing some sellotape on my second board to place the 6-inch board on top, just so that it's not sliding around while I'm icing the cake. The second tier is vanilla sponge with vanilla buttercream and is 6 inches. And the thing that you see me brushing on the cake is called simple syrup. It's just 1 part water, 1 part sugar, and you put it in a pot or a bowl and heat it up until all of the sugar's dissolved. And then once it's cooled down, you can spread this on your cakes and it's just going to help it stay nice and moist, especially with a wedding cake because you're going to be cutting it open and you don't want the exposed cake to get dry. My final and smallest tier is lemon sponge with lemon buttercream and is 4 inches. I love lemon. I'm sorry, but this whole cake combination, fabulous. Here you can see I'm trimming my cakes just so that it's all nice and even. So during the consultation with the bride, I found out that she's over an hour away from me. So I was trying to think, what's the best way to go forward with this cake? Obviously, buttercream is out of the question because she was coming to collect this cake, and if anything went wrong, I was not there to fix it, so no. Second option was fondant, but then I was thinking, if this is a vintage cake design, how can I do the piping on the fondant? I could use, what's that thing called? Royal icing, but it just seemed a bit like a hassle. I've never worked with royal icing before. So the final option was to work with white chocolate ganache. Like, fully. So before I even do the final coat on these cakes, I'm using my easy dowels to cut up my dowels to dowel the cake. Oh my days, I said dowel 3 times in one sentence. But I used 6 dowels in the bottom tier and then I used 3 dowels for the top tier. If I haven't already mentioned, this cake is 8 inches on the bottom, 6 inches in the middle, and then 4 inches on the top. But yeah, basically I have worked with chocolate ganache before. I've done a crumb coat with chocolate ganache, but I've never actually final coated or piped with chocolate ganache. So I know it's not good to try new things, especially on a wedding cake. But I was like, I know I can do this. Like, I've always wanted to do a really big tiered vintage cake. And I've been hearing great things about ganache. So why not? And I'm just so glad that it worked out. Like, this worked out perfectly. Once it had set, it was set. Like, the cake was super, super stable. So I was happy that I went with this option. And to get the ganache this bright white, I used my icing whitener. I have it linked in my Amazon must-haves in the decor section. But yeah, that thing is amazing. Make sure, listen to me guys, come close. Make sure if you're dyeing chocolate ganache, use an oil-based food gel or color, whatever. Oil-based, okay? Otherwise it will split. So as you just saw, I used some parchment paper and I cut it to the same size as my bottom tier, and then I cut a hole in the middle, and that's what I used to make sure that my dowel was central. And then I stacked my cakes as you saw. I didn't put a central dowel through the top tier because I know it's 4 inches and it's quite light. But here I'm just using some chocolate ganache in a piping bag to seal up my borders, and then I use a clean guys, I just washed my hands, finger along the border and then followed with my cake scraper, and that's how I got it perfectly smooth. So come back for part 2 to watch me decorate. Bye cuties.